there is no need to um, establish the presence of a quorum, and we can proceed as necessary. Now may I call on Attorney Dana Alberto, our Legislative Committee Secretary, to acknowledge the presence of our various resource persons. Yes, Attorney Alberto, please.
Good afternoon. The Committee on Foreign Relations would like to acknowledge the presence of our distinguished guests, namely, from Department of Foreign Affairs, we have Acting Director Charles Ching and Principal Assistant Diane Bartolome, and virtually present is Attorney Robel Garcia. From the Bureau of Internal Revenue, we have Attorney Laika Tolentino, OIC Section Chief Consorcio C. Olivan, and Attorney Giselle Maribi Galvez. From Board of Investments, we have Attorney Ryan P. Perez. From Department of Finance, we have Director Emmy I. Macabales. From Department of Justice, we have Chief State Counsel Dennis Arvin Elchan and State Counsel Maria Lorene D. Suwan. And from Filipino Association in Brunei, virtually present is Mr. Clifford Baluarte. That would be all, ma'am.
Yes, thank you very much. And last February 27, the agreement between the government of the Philippines and the government of His Majesty Sultan Brunei Darussalam for the avoidance of double taxation and the prevention of fiscal evasion with respect to taxes on income was referred to the committee, hence the public hearing today. May I request the resource persons to use our time wisely and to comment on matters only that pertain to the topic at hand. Let us observe proper decorum at all times, including refraining from making any derogatory remarks against resource persons. An agreement was entered into, as stated earlier, and the committee notes herewith that similar treaties have been entered into by the Philippines with a minimum of at least 48 countries, last count. Oftentimes, taxpayers involved in cross-border transactions are subjected to tax on the same income by different taxing authorities. And as a result, not only are taxpayers unduly burdened by executive taxes, the effects of government investment incentives are also blunted. To remedy this situation, there should be improved transparency and cooperation between tax authorities and states. The ratification of avoidance of taxation agreements are concurred by the Senate because they promote international trade and investment, primarily allocating taxing jurisdiction between the contracting states to eliminate or mitigate double taxation on income and also enforce domestic laws to reduce tax evasion. Let us hear from the resource persons to aid this committee better understand the pros and cons of the agreement subject of this public hearing. And with that, I'd like to call on straight away our resource persons, firstly from the DOF and the BIR, if they would like to make opening statements and explain what we have at hand. Is there anyone who would like to represent the DOF? I think Secretary Jokno has already submitted a position
ma'am.
paper. You can perhaps, Director Macabales, provide us and put on record the salient points in summary.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Also, on the part of the Department of Finance, we have already expressed our concurrence to the signing of the DTA with the state of Brunei, and mainly because the DTA will allow for the affirmation of our commitments with the ASEAN country, especially on the forum of taxation. So this will also complement our existing agreements with other ASEAN countries. To date, there are 5, and so we hope to add the DTA with Brunei to that.
Yes, the chair recognizes the presence of Sherwin Gatchalian, our senator, and the chairman of Ways and Means. This being a treaty with regard to double taxation, I'm certain that your expertise will be very valuable. So you were saying, as I said earlier, that this will merely strengthen the already clear-cut guidelines for ASEAN countries and the ability to avoid double taxation and even mitigate tax evasion. So that's the position of the DOF. Are there any amendments that are requested or any clarifications?
To date, ma'am, there are no additional clarification or amendments proposed by the Department of Finance. The agreement itself was originally negotiated as early as 2001 and revisited in 2010. As of 2017, the Bureau of Internal Revenue has expressed their agreements to the last provisions that was still unclear at the time. And that clarification done through the exchange of notes between the state of Brunei and the Philippines has already been confirmed.
Yes, thank you. I just needed a clarification on that. And does the BIR wish to add to the presentation or the statement of the Department of Finance? Is there anything you'd like to add?
We concur with their representation, ma'am. So we do not have anything to add. Sorry. We do not have anything more to add because we agree with the statements of the DOF.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And Senator Win, if at any time you would like to add anything, please simply let us know. So, okay, this is between the Sultanate of Brunei and the Philippines. And perhaps there are just a few questions we'd like to pose to our various authorities here from the DFA, the DOJ, and even the BOI. Unang-una, meron tayong nabanggit sa statements ng DOF from the time of Secretary Dominguez hanggang sa position paper submitted by Secretary Jokno that the DTA is expected to create more jobs in the atmosphere of transferring technology and skills between the two countries. So, do we have data on the total number of Filipino workers who will benefit from this tax treaty? Ilan ba talagang Pilipino nasa Brunei? Ilan naman yung Brunei citizens na narito sa Pilipinas kung sakali? May idea po kayo? Baka yung DFA makatulong. Ilan ang Pilipino sa Brunei?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. Ma'am, per our latest info po, we have 20,100 Filipinos in OFWs in Brunei. The gender-wise is almost split 50-50. Around 10,400 males and 9,700 females. But we don't have the data po on the Brunei citizens in the Philippines.
Okay, I doubt that there could be very many, being that there are very few Brunei citizens, even in Brunei. Pero itatanong ko lang sana, may idea kayo yung mga Pilipino sa Brunei, ano ang trabaho?
Ma'am, the data I gave po for the classification po, they were classified as mostly professionals.
Professional.
Yes,
Pati
sir.
yung mga kababaihan, kasi dati maraming DH din.
Ma'am, as per latest data po, domestic helpers account for 1,700.
Ah, that's great. So our breakdown has actually changed for the better and been professionalized. Maganda naman balita yon. So yung transfer of technology na nabanggit and skills, what are we pertaining to kaya? Dun sa technology and skills. I remember ages ago when the palace was being built in Brunei by Filipino contractors, Filipino architects and engineers, the transfer of technology was from the Philippines to Brunei. Are you saying that petrol technology will be obtained by the Philippines as a result of this treaty?
Madam Chair, admittedly po, I actually just assumed the office 12 hours ago. So I have to go to the details of that. But as per now po, data shows that the slant is towards Brunei. We import, thanks to the oil products that we import from them po.
Oh, lumalaki ang ating negative trade balance sa kanila, hindi ba? Pabaliktad. Dung dati, sila ang bumibili sa atin, pero ngayon sa pangangailangan natin sa langis at sa iba't iba pang mga produkto ng langis, talagang lumulobo na yung binibili natin sa kanila, no? Okay. Anyway, I'm curious as to the kind of technology technology and skills, the other benefits that we could derive from the DTA. Any idea? The statement, after all, was actually derived from the DOF. Baka dapat ang DOF ang sumagot, ano? Sila kasi nag-announce eh.
Ma'am, on the specifics of the trade, the specific of the technology and skill transfer, I think this would relate more on investments made by, for example, Brunei companies here in the Philippines, made by presumably companies based in Brunei who would invest in the Philippines. But as the data specific to the statement was on the inbound transfer of technology and skills to the Philippines. So presumably this would refer to is
Sorry, I'm really having trouble hearing you.
ma'am. The statement made, I think, by the Department of Finance is in relation to the inbound transfer of technology and skills. So presumably this would refer to Brunei companies who would invest in the Philippines and the potential of the technology transferred by such companies here in the Philippines. But I would also defer to the Board of yes, ma'am, on the specifics on this matter.
Maybe the BOI, Attorney Perez, can help us on this score.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Ma'am, in regards to investment, from the time the double tax treaty became effective between Philippines and Brunei, we have not realized any investment. As with the BUI, there's no investment yet.
O
But-
parang wala pa akong naririnig na Brunei
Wala pa
company
po.
na narito sa Pilipinas.
However, considering other IPAs, investment promotion agencies, there's a minimal investment, if I can provide the data. It's on professional, scientific, and technical activities. On the particulars po, I don't have the information. If you want a more granular information, I can request from the other
Okay,
IPAs.
because when this goes on the floor, we'll have to be very clear cut on what advantages this brings. So to our knowledge, there's no Brunei company as yet operating in the Philippines.
As far as BOI is concerned, we don't have any
Wala pa kayong
investment.
listing, but you said, as you mentioned earlier, you provide us with a list of a few professional and scientific efforts that have ensued in the past.
Based on the information that we have gathered from other IPAs, we can request the information, ma'am. If what particular investment and to which IPA
Sige.
this was made.
Okay, thank you. There's also mention, and I think this is very interesting, of cooperation between the Philippines and Brunei in the halal sector, considering that there's an existing memo of understanding to explore opportunities. And since we know fully well that halal products here in the Philippines are inordinately expensive, sometimes triple or quadruple the price of regular food. So is there any input on the part of BOI, any interest manifested by some of the Brunei companies? Yung halal, maganda po yun eh, dahil talagang minsan halos sinasamantala na talaga ang ating mga kapatid na Muslim at labis-labis ang presyo ng halal products.
The halal generally, including tourism and the agri sector, we are aggressively promoting this. And in fact, in the past few years, going back, there's already an improvement in our trade, like what DFA mentioned. There's a significant increase in our export versus import. While it is true that there's still a trade imbalance and deficit, kasi import is significantly more than our export. If all the investment promotion agencies, including DTI, will aggressively promote certain industries and sectors, and perhaps we can improve on our exports on certain commodities. Thank
Yes,
you.
I'm given to understand that we're already exporting butter, fruit juice, and prepared meat, which presumably are halal certified. We're all fully aware that Brunei certification for halal is actually recognized throughout the world, and the potential for halal products is enormous, even in ASEAN alone, given the size of the populations of Indonesia, Malaysia, and the rest. So sana mabigyan ng din ng BOI yan, and if you had further data, that would also help push forth this effort to pass the double taxation law. Yung Muslim travel market has been a very wealthy and loyal one over the decades. Bago mag-COVID, nakita natin ang Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore nakinabang ng todo-todo sa Muslim travel market sa mga turista nanggagaling sa Middle East at Africa at iba pang lugar. So, paano ito makakatulong sa Pilipinas na maakit itong mga Arabo, Muslim at iba pang dayuhan pumunta dito sa Pilipinas? Yes, I think there are approximately 145 million Muslim tourists from ASEAN and the Middle East who could potentially come to the Philippines. One of the pitches of the DOF is that this would be expanded here in the Philippines. Tama ba yun? Maengganyo sila pumunta dito pag ma-reduce yung income tax ng mga travel agencies and other operators. Tama po ba yun?
On the DTA, ma'am, what it covers is the personal income, corporate income tax of entities here in the Philippines. So if we are talking about them establishing companies here then we expect that they will benefit from the DTA.
Yes, presumably it will be more attractive if the double taxation fear can be assuaged, no? So that's another reason why we'd like this to go, no, quickly. Tapos may parating tinatanong, I'm sure expert na si Senator Gatchalian, ang laging issue sa DOF, is there going to be anything in terms of impact on foregone tax revenues for our country? Parati naman yan ang issue ng DOF, foregone revenue. May foregone revenue bang na-anticipate dito?
On the foregone revenue, ma'am, I will defer to the Bureau of Internal Revenue on the statement.
O sige, BIR na lang daw. Are there any fears that there will be impact on revenue and that a significant amount will be foregone from the 20,000 plus Filipinos already living in Brunei?
As of this moment, ma'am, we cannot answer the revenue foregone because there are no tax treaty application yet because the Brunei treaty is not yet effective. But in the future, we may gain information on the said revenue foregone.
Ang daya ninyo, ha? Ang DOF at BIR, parating tinatanong sa mga mambabatas, magkano yung foregone revenue? Pag kami nagtanong, hindi kayo sumasagot, ha? Ang daya nyo, ha?
Thank you, ma'am.
Kayo talaga. Okay. Article 23A says that tax payable in Brunei shall be allowed as a credit on any tax payable in the Philippines. Meanwhile, 23B indicates that Philippine tax paid under the laws of our country shall be allowed reversely as credit against any Brunei tax. Tama ba yon? Yun ang pagkaintindi ko. Ayan, tumatango yung BIR. So sana tama naman. Does this mean that under the treaty, it's not necessary to actually pay the Brunei taxes first before we can ask for tax credits in the Philippines? The fear is that this is prone to tax fraud, right? Because in the first place, we are not certain that the tax was paid in the other country. How do we ascertain that there was in fact tax paid in Brunei, for example? Hence, they are exempt from taxes here in the Philippines. How do we safeguard the evasion of tax entirely?
Okay po, ma'am. Under the treaty, which is actually in accordance with the tax code, the Philippine or the BIR can grant a tax credit for foreign income taxes paid in the other country. For example, if you are deriving income, if you are a Filipino or a Philippine corporation deriving income in Brunei, and if it so happens that you are taxed in that with respect to that income in Brunei, then you can claim as a tax credit the taxes withheld in Brunei. So, and it's also the other way around. If
Pero iniintindi ko lang yung sequence. Kailangan ba magbayad muna ng Brunei taxes para ipakita sa Pilipinas, o bayad na ako sa Brunei? Or hindi na kailangan magbayad muna sa Brunei, magsasabi ka lang?
usually
Kasi hindi klaro sa batas eh.
usually under the treaty or under the tax code, we often require a certificate of withholding tax
From the other tax
from the other
authority.
tax authority
Oo,
before we can give a tax credit.
tama.
And it must be an income tax that is
Okay.
levied.
So, but the term utilized in the treaty is tax payable. They're not using the term tax already paid or certified as paid or verified by the other taxing authority. Ang sabi lang, tax payable. Kaya medyo kinakabahan ako sa 23A.
But in the case of the Philippines, and if we always align the interpretation of the article on elimination of double taxation with the provisions under the tax code, that is on the allowance as tax credit. So so the process is when you're applying for a tax credit, you always present the certificate of withholding tax.
Di ba dapat paltan to sa tax paid? Para maliwanag. Kasi it opens us up to fraud eh. And complete evasion, di ba? Kasi malay naman natin kung talagang bayad dun sa kabila. Ang nasa batas kasi, tax payable. Dapat sana tax already paid, di ba? Para maliwanag. It's not a trick question. It's simple lang. Simple understanding of tax payable. It's not necessarily paid yet eh. Di ba? Andyan eh, oh. Oo. Here, that's right. It's Article 23, 1A. In the case of the Republic of the Philippines, subject to the laws of the Philippines, is what you're saying, subject to the laws of the Philippines. The credit of taxes paid outside the Republic of the Philippines, tax payable in Brunei, Darussalam, in respect to income or profits, etc. So the term is, it need not be paid first kasi tax payable. Yun lang ang worry ko. Nakita po ninyo? Article 23, 1A. Maybe you can clarify that to us also. Not necessarily here, but perhaps in writing, because this seems to be open ground for fraud.
I disagree with that, ma'am. Actually, this is the general wordings that we adopt in most of our treaties. The mechanism of ordinary credit method is espoused here because when you say tax payable, that means that you have a tax obligation to the Philippines because you are a resident of the Philippines, and at the same time, you have a tax obligation in the other country because that is where you derive your income. So the tax payable phrase here is that you really have to pay the tax that is due on the income that you derive from the other countries. I think
Nagugulan lang ako kasi hindi pantay. Yung sa Pilipinas, kikilalanin natin yung payable sa Brunei. But look at Section 23(1)(b). Here, it's very clear. Philippine tax paid. Paid na yan, under the laws of the Philippines, line 4. And in accordance with this agreement, ayun, tax paid siya. Ba't ganun? So it's not necessary to pay the Brunei taxes first, but it's necessary to pay the Philippine taxes first. But hindi pantay.
23B. Ito. Ma'am, yung 23B po, that per sa Brunei yan eh.
Binabawas naman yung foreign tax.
Hindi, pero yung 23B sa ano yung Brunei?
Yung 23(1) A and B, di
Okay.
kasi sila magkapareho.
We expect that kasi po sa yung 23A po, that pertains to how the Philippines will grant the corresponding tax credit. Whereas dun sa 23B po, yun po naman yung that's how Brunei will operate or will
Yun na nga, Mr. Olivan, bakit ganun? Mas stricto sila sa Brunei, pero tayo dito sa Pilipinas, pwede tayong lusutan.
hindi naman po yung lulu.
Hindi, kasi sila, magre-require sila ng certification na bayad dito sa Pilipinas. Tayo, basta sabihin na bayad na dun sa Brunei, hindi naman natin alam kung totoo o hindi. Okay lang, tatanggapin natin na sa tax credit. Ba't ganun?
Ma'am, bali po sa treaty kasi, yun na, sige po, i-revisit po namin kasi nag-revise po kami ng treaty model. So, for the longest time, ito na po yung ginagamit naming provision.
Yeah,
But
but for
we'll
the
take-
longest time, hindi pantay. Lugi Pilipinas niya.
Hindi naman po, ma'am. Kasi po yung the other country, we defer to them kung ano yung wordings nila because
Maybe it's time we stop deferring to them. Dapat pantay-pantay. Di ba? Lahat ng foreign relations are governed by mutuality and reciprocity.
yeah, ma'am.
Hindi naman yata ito equal.
Hindi po naman, ma'am. Bali po kasi sa yung tax credit mechanism ng bawat country o yung elimination of double taxation procedures nila, it always depends dun po sa domestic law rin po nila. May mga treaty po tayo na medyo mas complicated yung domestic procedures pagdating sa pag-eliminate ng double taxation.
Pero papahirapan pa natin sarili natin.
Ma'am, we can,
Sila madali lang.
ma'am, we cannot
Kailangan na i-certify na paid. Tayo, magkakalkal pa tayo ng batas, magbabago pa tayo ng guidelines. Ba't tayo nagpapahirap ng sarili? Yun lang tanong ko. Dapat pantay, dapat patas.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes po.
Normally po kasi when you compute for the income tax due, you will deduct naman po yung foreign taxes paid. And it can be deducted either as income tax payable mo or as expenses. And for that po, yes po, for that naman po, the Bureau will request documents or proof bago po sila payagan na i-deduct.
Nevertheless, the burden of proof looks much higher for Filipinos than it is for Brunei residents, di ba? Dapat ayusin natin. Total, sabi ninyo, inaayos naman ninyo yung terminology. Palibhasang matagal na to, hindi naman ibig sabihin na hindi pwede nang baguhin, di ba? Para maliwanag, napatas naman. Di ba?
Proforma yata.
Oo nga, pro forma, sabi nga nila. Pero ginagaya-gaya natin, mali. Kung siniserox natin, at least itama na. Okay. Yeah. Section 24(1) of the treaty provides that nationals of a contracting state shall not be subjected in the contracting state to any taxation or any requirement which is more burdensome the taxation to which nationals of that other contracting state are subjected. Does this mean that we have to impose a tax rate for Filipinos and nationals of Brunei? Parang yung 24(1), parang ganun din eh.
Ma'am, bali po itong article on non-discrimination, it only promotes the idea that you cannot discriminate based on nationality. So for example, we always defer to our tax code. For example, if there is a particular, if you are taxing non-Filipinos higher than Filipinos, then that may be a sign of discrimination, and we usually
So what you're saying is that we have to impose uniform tax rates on Filipinos and Brunei citizens. Ganun ba yun?
yes.
Pero paano kung ayaw nilang tanggapin?
this is not an easy provision because
Ayun na nga eh.
it will
Kasi
na-
parang pipilitin mo na uniform. Pwede ba yun? That's what it says eh.
Ma'am, but in reality po naman, nationals of other countries are more favorably taxed because they are only taxed on their income within. Whereas if you are a national and you're residing in the Philippines, then you are taxed worldwide. So the question of discrimination is already set aside because that's the principles of taxation under the tax code. So I don't.
It depends which jurisdiction. There are many jurisdictions that now impose worldwide taxation. It's not only the
But
Philippines.
I'm glad to say that in the case of the Philippines, this will not become a discrimination issue because it's already in the tax code that we only tax nationals and foreign corporations on their income within the Philippines.
Yes, we understand. It's income within the Philippines
Yeah.
in any case. But there may be preferential rates for Filipinos or vice versa for foreign investors. Is that likely? Given our push for investments and the provision of incentives,
Well, if that particular tax incentive is given under a special law, then anyone or any country for that or any corporation, whether it's a national or a foreigner, they also must avail in order to observe this non-discrimination provision.
thank you. Yes, I would appreciate for both the question earlier about the tax payable provision as well as this provision, if you could just provide us a very short explanation of the same so that we have it on record, because I'm certain that our colleague, Senator Gatchalian, will query the same and we should have answers at hand. Okay. The other thing is, nabasa ko na nag-umpisa yung negotiation nito ng 2001, tapos na-resume ng 2010, tapos na-approve ng 2017, at napirmahan lamang ng 2021. Ang tanong, bakit 20 years para ma-negotiate yung DTA? Ba't ganun kabagal? May opposition ba o problem during the negotiation stage? May issue ba that arose?
Normally po kasi ma'am for treaty negotiation, it usually takes 2 to 3 rounds po. Actually, Brunei is very maikli na nga po siya kasi second round lang. After the second round, the exchange po,
Maikli na yung 20 years, samantalang 43 years na halos Sears copy lang naman to. Hindi rin na eh. 43 na double taxation treaties na ang napirmahan natin. Baka 20 years pa to.
from base po sa records namin is after the second round po in 2010, marami pa pong nangyaring back and forth correspondence between the Philippines and Brunei as to po yung mga provisions na naging issue or hindi pa po nila napag-agree on the second round.
Akala ko halos pare-pareho na maitsura ng DTA.
Ma'am, there will be always issue po since there are two different tax laws. So we have to reconcile po the tax law of the Philippines and the tax law of Brunei.
Kaya tinatamad na sila pumirma at benepisyo sa Pilipino hindi kabaliktaran, ano? There's no motivation to speed up the process whatsoever. Sige, tatanong ko na lang, nakita ko may memo ang BIR, yung number 14, 2021, dated 31 March 2021 with regards to streamlining. Ito yung bongga ninyong memo na talagang parating tinitignan ng lahat kasi inaasahan natin na may streamlining of procedures and documents for the availment of treaty benefits. Okay. So, andito nga, nakalista, that BIR is constrained by the following. Ayan na. So, 1, volume of backlogs for the ease of doing business. Number 2, limited number of personnel responsible for evaluating and processing TTRAs. Number 3, the process of confirming treaty benefits via the issuance of a BIR ruling entailing a thorough study and evaluation of the facts involved vis-a-vis the applicable provisions of the tax treaty, National Internal Revenue Code, as amended and existing jurisprudence. So, eto na yung implementation ng treaty. Mukhang ang haba-haba ng proseso at ng delay. So how many backlogs ba talaga are we referring to? At bakit nagkaka-backlog na katakot-takot na mismo yung memorandum ng BIR inaamin na santambak ang backlog?
Ma'am, kasi po previously po nung mga bago po yung RMO na yan, ruling po talaga yung ang issue po ng granting the benefit of exemption or preferential rate. So mahaba po talaga yung process from kunwari International Tax Affairs Division to another office, then hanggang kay commissioner po yung magsasign. Kaya po mahaba po talaga yung process. Ruling, yung RMO po, sinimplify na po siya, streamline. So certificate na lang po yung granting the benefit. So hanggang commissioner na lang po ng legal service. So parang 2 divisions na lang po siya.
Dati,
Dati po,
hanggang commissioner,
apat po.
apat plus commissioner pa.
Opo. Ay, kasama na po yung commissioner.
Ay, kasali na yun.
Opo. Pero
Ngayon,
ruling,
dalawa na lang.
opo, dalawa na. Pag
Okay.
granting po, pag denial, commissioner pa rin po. Yung dati po, ma'am, yung ruling po talagang ilang pages pa po siya. Ngayon po usually,
Kasi madalas dinadaing to
Opo.
ng ating OFW, dinadaing ng mga Filipinos abroad na okay, may treaty nga, pero ang ending sa implementasyon, pagkahirap-hirap, chinuchubibo daw sila ng BIR, pabalik-balik, wala raw nangyayari.
ang
Totoo ba yun? At bakit nagkaka-backlog? O na-simplify na yung proseso? Nabawasan na ba yung backlog?
Opo, yes, ma'am. Mga more than 2,000 something na lang po yung ano. Dati po mga mas marami pa po talaga. Kasi yung previous din po, naipon po siya.
Teka, more than 2,000 ang natitirang backlog pa rin.
Apo. Pero
Malaki
tutuloy-
pa yun
Opo. Pero mas malaki pa po kasi siya dati talaga. Kaya malaking bagay po na yung RMO, yung issuance po namin, naging certificate na lang po. Tapos yung isa rin pong nabanggit yung problem is yung limited number of personnel.
Yung personnel,
Opo.
oo, nasa sistema rin.
Opo.
At saka, meron rin binabanggit na yung proseso mismo of confirming treaty benefits
Ayun nga po.
through a BIR ruling pa.
Opo,
Ganun pa
dati
rin
po.
ba hanggang ngayon?
Hindi po,
Kada isa may BIR ruling.
Hindi na po. Certificate na lang po
Kahirap
ngayon.
naman kayo ng sarili niya.
Yung dati po yun, yung ruling talaga na ilang
Asa wala
pages.
na yung ganon, yung
Pag
one by
denial lang
one.
po. Pag denial ruling. Pero pag ngayon pong certificate lang po, mga 2 pages na lang. Tapos may template naman po, so mas madali na po siyang gawin.
Pero 2,000 pa rin ang pending. Dapat i-simplify, ano, Senator Gatchalian?
Kasi
Kasi
ma'am,
dapat i-simplify yung procedure. Dami-dami nating OF.
simplified na po siya kasi lang po yung dati kasi previous na backlogs parang napunta po dun sa na-add. So hanggang ngayon po, parang yung mga old po, ginagawa
Wala
pa
bang
rin po
discount? Bakit kami pinapenalize ng BIR pag late? Dapat pag kayo ang late, may discount. Pwede ba? Pwede ko ba sabihin sa OFW yung ganun?
namin. Baka lalo pong mabawasan yung tao ma'am sa BIR. Ayun po. Tapos hindi lang po kasi yung tax treaty application yung pinaprocess po namin. May mga iba-iba pong sections na iba rin po, minsan ano din po rush o kaya po urgent. So ano po, madami po talaga. Opo.
So, nadagdagan na ba yung personnel ninyo? Kasi parati kayong kulang ng tao. Padami ng padami itong mga treaty obligations, itong OFW, padami ng padami ang mga foreigners and Filipinos traveling and working overseas. So, nadagdagan na ba kayo?
Nadadagdagan po pero nababawasan din po.
Ano?
Nadadagdagan po pero nababawasan din po.
Anong klase yun? Akala ko Comelec lang ang dagdag bawas. Hindi, kasi talagang laging dinadaing. Pero marami naman nag-a-apply. Lahat ng nagpaparecommend dito sa atin, di ba, Senator Win, puro gusto BIR, customs. O, di parang there's no lack naman of applicants.
Yun ma'am po. Based din po kasi as a case officer din po ako na nagpo-process. May factor din kasi ma'am that the documents will be coming abroad po. So dapat apostilled or consularized. And since we're grieving preferential rates, we have to check po talaga the documents if they're entitled. Kasi since we're giving preferential rates, it's also tax forgone in the Philippines. Kaya po we have to be sure that they are entitled to the treaty benefits before po we grant.
Example, kung ora mismo sa araw na ito, na-concur ang Senate sa treaty, gano'ng katagal bago ma-implement ng BIR to? Sa Brunei lang 20,000 lang ang Pilipino. Kailan ito ma-activate?
Based ma'am, nasa treaty din po siya na upon ratification po, January 1, after the year po na ma-ratify. So if it will be ratified this year, it will be in effect January 1, 2024.
So December na namin itatakal to. Inaasar lang kita.
Ma'am,
Opo,
I
oo.
will just add, bali po after ma-ratify siya po, ang next step would be the Department of Foreign Affairs informing the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Brunei that the treaty has been ratified. And
Sorry, who informs who? The DFA Manila
yes,
will inform the ministry in
Foreign
Brunei.
Affairs. Yeah. So that's the only time when the treaty will enter into force. And usually, the year in which, for example, if the treaty happens to enter into force this year, then the effectivity will be on beginning January 1 of next year. So that's the timeline for this.
Okay, so it's still effective almost immediately, in fact,
Yes.
upon notification of both sides,
Yes.
naturally. Okay. Are there other questions? Senator Gatchalian, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I just have basic questions lang just to enrich the record so that when we tackle this on the floor, we'll have some of the basic questions answered. I'll keep it simple, Madam Chair. I understand that we have 20,000 OFWs residing and working in Brunei. No? How can this treaty benefit those 20,000 OFWs residing in Brunei? Basic question lang to. No?
Sir, with respect to Filipinos working in Brunei, I think in article. Okay, sorry. Sorry. Okay, Article 21 of the treaty says that teachers, individual who generally teachers working in Brunei are exempt there for a period of 4 years. Usually we only give exemption for 2 years, but I think it's based on the generosity of our Brunei counterpart. They give a longer period of exemption, which is 4 years. That's very low.
So professors, teachers, and researchers working in Brunei, Filipino working
Yes.
in Brunei, they're exempted for 4 years.
Yes.
Insofar as income tax is concerned.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then after that, they will already start paying.
We treated as regular.
How much is that?
I have no idea how much.
I'm sure graduated yan siguro kung pareho sa atin. Do you have any idea on how much Brunei charges their professionals there?
As of now, sir, I have no idea on how much is the rate, but we will research that, sir.
Pasubmit na lang sa amin how much is their how much are they charging or how much are they deducting
Yes, sir.
personal income tax to professionals.
Yes.
Only after 4 years.
Only after 4 years, correct?
Yes, that's
How about outside of these are professors, teachers, and researchers. How about those who are not in that profession? How will they,
okay.
what benefit can this treaty bring to our OFWs?
Okay, sir. With respect to the other professionals, if their stay in Brunei is not more than 183 days, they will be exempt.
Okay.
So that's the general rule. That's but if they exceed that 183-day threshold, then they will already be taxed in Brunei. Same
Okay.
thing here if an expatriate happens to work here for more than 183 days, that person is already taxable here.
Okay. And then for those other professions yun, no?
Everything, sir.
All the
Anyone,
all income earners.
all income earners.
Okay, okay. So that's clear. And then for companies, non-resident Brunei companies, meaning Filipino companies who engage, who have businesses there in Brunei, how can this treaty help them
Okay,
or
so-
benefit them?
Yeah. Usually, under the treaty, we have this concept of permanent establishment. So it's defined as a fixed place of business, such as a branch or an office. So if you happen to set up an office or a branch in the Philippines, and if you're a foreign company, then you are already taxed here. But if it so happens that you only provide the services here for not more than 83 days, then we will not tax you.
Let's start muna with Filipino companies, no? Because I want
Okay.
to understand how Filipino companies can benefit. Because at the end, we want to put on record the benefits that can cascade to our Filipino company. So if I'm an architectural firm who's doing business, let's say I'm building a house in Brunei, how can this benefit? How can this treaty benefit me, no, as a local architectural firm?
Okay, so if you don't have a permanent establishment in Brunei, or if you happen to, if you're an architect and you only do the work here and then you deliver the design of the building, then you will not be taxed there because you don't have a permanent establishment there.
Okay, so I will pay my taxes here, correct?
Yes, yes, that's
Okay,
correct.
so but I will not be taxed in Brunei anymore.
Yes,
Okay,
that's
so whatever
under the
tax rate that is applicable in the Philippines, I will pay my tax here.
That's correct.
If I go beyond 6 months, 183 days, no?
Yes.
Beyond 6
So
months.
you will be treated as a regular taxpayer there, where you will be subjected to the regular tax rates.
And how will I will be subjected to the tax rates in Brunei.
Correct.
How will I pay? Because I'm residing here, but I'm doing business there. So what is the mechanism for me to?
Usually, in the case of our office, which is the tax relief applications, there is we require the withholding agent to withhold. So before making any payment to the non-resident, we require them to withhold. So that's the mechanism that we institute here. But in Brunei, I have no idea, sir.
Dapat may idea kayo dahil you cannot come here and say you don't have any idea, no? I mean, that's why
But
we have a
usually
hearing to give
but
us an
usually
idea.
it's,
But if your answer is no idea, then how can we move forward?
Yeah.
I know it's in Brunei, but still,
Yeah.
no, I mean, being a government agency, it's your responsibility to know everything, no? Especially on this topic, no?
But usually it can be done through the withholding system because you require the withholding agent to withhold the amount before making any payment.
Okay, so you require the withholding agent in Brunei to withhold. The treaty covers that.
In the case of the Philippines, that's the only thing that I can answer. We require the payer of income to withhold the rate, which is 25% now, before making the payment to the non-resident.
Punto kasi lumampas na ng 183 days, di ba? So within the 183 days, I will not be taxed in Brunei, no? So I will be paying here, no?
Correct.
Lumampas na ako ng 183 days. So how will I show that I've been paying my taxes here and I will not be charged there? No? Because this is to avoid double taxation, diba? So my simple question, and this is for entrepreneurs, is how does this treaty avoid the double taxation? Because within the 183 days, we're avoiding it. after the 183 days, how will this avoid that? Kasi pag winidhold ako doon and I'm paying here, then double siya. Correct?
Usually, sir, in the case of, let's say, other countries, they require this, what we call tax residence certificate. So they just present this tax residence certificate to the tax authority there. And then they, no, because we also issued that document here.
So you issue here.
Yes.
So you issue here in the Philippines, and then I will show the tax authorities in Brunei that I've been paying my taxes here. Tama ba?
Usually in Indonesia, they honor it right away. So they will no longer be tax.
Okay.
I'm sorry to use the
Masyado ko nasanay sa I don't know eh. And I don't care. No?
because,
Don't be, huwag kayong masanay sa ganyan. No?
Yeah, but in other, like Indonesia, they honor that immediately. The tax residence certificate.
So BIR will issue that, the tax resident
Yes.
certificate. And then the local company can show that in, I guess they will show it to your client. And their client will show it to your tax authorities.
Yes, sir.
Tama, ganun ang mechanism. No?
Okay.
Now, if you have a branch there, for example, I'm a company here, but I have a branch there and I'm doing business, just a branch, huh?
Yes.
I'm doing business there. So how will this treaty help benefit the local Filipino company?
Okay, so if you already have a permanent establishment in Brunei or in any other country, and if you're a Filipino company, then you're already taxed there because you have a permanent establishment. The relief or the incentive is only available until such time that you don't have a permanent establishment. That's the general rule for all tax treaties.
Permanent establishment meaning you incorporate a company there. Tama?
Not necessarily, but if you incorporate a branch or an office, but if you happen to form if there is a company there which is a subsidiary, and you happen to be the parent, that will not be automatically a permanent establishment because they have two distinct personalities.
But branch lang. I have
Yes,
a branch
branch.
office there.
Branch or office, yes.
So I can pay my taxes here, but how can this treaty benefit me? How can I be not double taxed?
Okay, as I said before, if you already have a permanent establishment, then you will no longer be entitled to exemption. But if under the article on discrimination, if you happen to be, if there are, for example, if there is a tax law there that discriminates between a branch and a domestic enterprise in Brunei, then you can invoke that article on discrimination.
And then I can again show them that I've been paying my taxes here. Kasi may branch ako doon eh, 'di ba? So I'm earning income there, 'di ba?
Yes.
Will I be taxed based on my earnings there, or I will declare my earnings here?
Under the treaty, sir, the rule for business profit is that you are only taxed on the income which is attributable to that permanent
Okay,
establishment.
okay. So that
Anything that is not attributable to your branch there, that should not be taxed. That's a general principle.
okay. But so I will now segregate my income. I will have to declare my income being earned in Brunei, and then my income, hindi ko na siya i-declare here in the Philippines. Tama ba? So hindi ko napapakita sa BIR na I'm earning X amount from Brunei.
No, sir. What you will do actually is you declare all your income outside the Philippines and your income within the Philippines. And then for those income that is taxed in outside the Philippines, then that will be you can avail of tax credit for any foreign
Okay.
tax credit tax that you paid there.
Okay. I avail a tax credit here. Tama? And then apply it there. Ganun ba yun?
All the tax forms are withholding tax forms that are issued to you proving that you are withheld tax there, that can be used as a document to claim a tax credit.
Okay.
later
All right.
on.
Now, my next question is, how many do we have data on how many businesses are doing business in Brunei? And how many businesses have a setup? For example, they have a branch there or they don't have a branch there. How many businesses are doing business in Brunei? Para we have an idea on how much, what this treaty can bring in terms of peso value. Meron ba tayong ganun record? And we know the concept. Now, what is the reality?
Ng mga
I don't-
aling department ba may hawak nun? Nung listahan ng mga Filipino companies operating overseas, whether as a branch, an office, a warehouse, a farm, etc. Wala ba listahan ganun?
Don't they have to declare it with BIR? Kasi if my income is being derived in Brunei, so I have to declare to the BIR where my income is being derived from, correct? And I will invoke this because I will have to show you that my income is from Brunei, but I'm paying here in the Philippines. Don't we have a record? Don't we have a record of such?
BIR po wala, pero we believe maybe SEC could answer that, sir.
I don't know if SEC looks at all the sales of, di ba meron sa GS, sales lang eh, but hindi naman naka-breakdown doon from Brunei, from, I would assume BIR will have that information. Don't they have to show companies where the income is coming from, especially in treaties? Wala bang ganun?
May treaty mo. Pag may treaty po, makikita naman. Pero po pag wala pa pong treaty, we have no information.
Wala, alright. Ano na lang, best efforts if you have that. No? I just want to know what is the reality, how much can we benefit? No?
Peso value.
Oh, if we have to put a peso value, we know now the concept. The concept looks okay, diba? But in terms of peso value, how much are we going to benefit? No? Kung best efforts lang if you have that information.
Yeah, that's similar to my question also earlier. Yung transfer of technology, tapos the number of jobs that will be generated. Because, of course, in the debate in the chamber, necessarily will be asked what's the value. And I think we need to give a number. So what kind of jobs are you anticipating? The value of the technology and skills that are actually learned and so on. The potential growth of the halal industry and the Muslim tourist sector. Baka matulungan naman tayo ng DTI halimbawa at saka ng tourism kung ano yung na-anticipate nila. At pati na rin yung BIR kasi kahit pa paano.
Madam Chair, those are just my basic question. No? So just to
Okay.
enlighten us how to, actually my point is what benefit can this bring to us? We know the concept and we know there are about 43 countries that have this type of arrangement. But I don't know if BAR quantified. For example, we have an agreement with, I think, the United States, no? United States, what else? Thailand, no? Have we quantified how much benefits have we gathered from those treaties? For example, how much double taxation have we avoided? Part of this treaty is also tax evasion purposes. No, how much have we prevented or avoided in terms of tax evasion? Meron ba tayong mga ganun na report on a per treaty basis just to analyze whether the treaty is effective or not? Meron ba tayong ganun na analysis?
Yes, sir. For Article 26 po, we have exchange of information. So basically, it is exchange of information po between the two states. So for example, Philippines and the US. So if they have a taxpayer na under investigation in the Philippines or vice versa, we request information po from them if we have, kanwari po, taxpayer ng Philippines na under audit na may info po si US. So we can request information from them po. And yun po isa sa mechanism namin to prevent tax evasion.
Parang joint audit yan,
Yes.
pero hindi value. Hinahanap namin yung value. Anong pakinabang? They'll share information with us. That's one value.
I mean, tax information po, ma'am. So the income earned po. Yun naman po yung mga nire-request naming information.
Pero has it happened in the past? I mean, tax information could be very valuable if we can actually collect,
Yes, ma'am.
right? So in the past, have there been incidences in the past 43 DTAs that we have signed na may nahabol overseas? Na hindi nagbabayad sa Pilipinas, halimbawa, pero tinulungan ng Pilipinas, sa bandang huli, nakakolekta rin naman tayo. So may tulong yung DTA para ma-justify din namin. May nangyari na ba na kaso na tumulong yung isang bansa na may DTA ang Pilipinas at dahil may joint audit nga, nabigyan tayo ng impormasyon at ultimately yung BIR natin nakapag-collect. Meron bang ganon?
Actually, without divulging the name of the taxpayer, yes. Kano ba yan?
Kailan ba yun, sir? Kailan ba yun?
20, ako ba yan?
6 ba yan?
2010 ulit yata.
EOI ka pa nun, sir?
Yes, you were saying, Director Olivan, sorry.
Yeah.
Nakipagchismisan muna kami rito eh.
Yes, with under our exchange of information, we can provide information to other tax authorities if regarding the example income, bank accounts, and so forth and so on of a particular taxpayer which has some connections here. So in the past, we already assessed, but right now it's under a court litigation, so we cannot completely say that we have collected something from it. But in the course of exchange of information, yes, we get information, particularly bank information, because of the tax treaty.
Madam Chair, my point is this is the 44th DTA, no? The 44th DTA that we're entering into. And yeah, it's just I think it out of curiosity and also of operation, we would like to know if whether these DTAs are actually working or not. No, it's a basic question, diba? I mean, we all want to fight tax evasion. We all want to avoid double taxation. But is it really working or not? No? Considering that many of these are pro forma, so we just copy it from one country to the other. But for example, in the case of Vietnam, are there any successes, no, between two countries in terms of fighting tax evasion and also avoidance of double taxation? Meron ba tayong ganong report?
I think lately with Vietnam, we already have a tax relief application, but only a few. But yes, there's already a
Tax relief on our part, on their part?
tax relief application. We need to say that the Vietnam taxpayer is deriving income here. So it applies for a tax rate relief application.
Okay. Yeah, so
Ang alam ko, yung benefit na direct impact na nakita natin, yung mga bansa katulad ng US, Italy, Spain, maraming nagsasabi na kahit matagal ang proseso sa BIR, at least hindi na sila nahahassle ng 2 beses. But to put a peso figure, I think that would be the challenge. Dahil naririnig ko naman sa OFW na malaking pakinabang para sa kanila. Maski yung mga taga Hong Kong dati, yung mga professionals na iba't ibang remittance nagkakagulo, kahit paano nakakatulong.
Madam Chair, just to good idea and a suggestion to the BIR to maybe come, M&E, the monitoring and evaluation, to come up with an individual assessment whether these treaties are beneficial or not. No, what benefits are we deriving as a country? How much are those benefits in terms of enforcement? How much? How much are we collecting because of enforcement? So it's good to analyze one by one, no? So that we can quantify, hindi lang tayo pasok ng pasok sa treaty, no? Because from what I gathered, because it's pro forma and you just enter into the treaty, but just to give us some challenge, let's analyze these treaties, no, one by one.
Lalo na yung mga 1977, 1981, dapat naman siguro meron na tayong evaluation kung sino napakinabangan at kung talaga nakatulong.
Madam Chair, let's just request the
Okay,
BIR
we
to
just
submit.
request
this
if
to
you
us.
have any information, and perhaps Committee Secretary, we can also ask the Department on Migrant Workers. Where's our ComSec, please? Perhaps the Department on Migrant Workers can also provide a position, because our migrant workers are clearly very directly impacted, particularly the professionals who are sometimes taxed in multiple venues. Okay, so ComSec, if you could add that as well. While I'm in the process of completing the record, I'd also urge the DOJ, since we haven't heard from you, Attorney Chan and State Counsel Suan, are you in concurrence with this DTA? What is the DOJ position? Just please put your position on record, please.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair. We deferred to the BIR and the DOF being the lead agency in negotiating the terms of the DTA here, Your Honor.
Yes, the terms, but in principle, you're present to provide your support for this effort. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, Chief State Counsel Chan. What is the position also of the DFA? You're clearly negotiating this, so I assume that your concurrence is also forthcoming.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay, since no position was provided, I have to put it on record. BOI, is that the same for your agency?
Yes, ma'am. No reservations.
Okay, thank you very much. And I believe that the Filipino Association in Brunei is virtually present. I was just told by our committee secretary. Asan sila? Andiyan ba? Sino makausap? Pala ako nakikita kasi sa video eh. Si Mr. Clifford Baluarte. Kayo po ba yung nasa Brunei?
Yes, hello, good afternoon, Madam Chair.
Ay, good afternoon. Baka may
Good afternoon.
madagdag kayo sa tinatanong ni Senator Gatchalian. Kung mapapakinabangan ba ng Pilipino sa Brunei itong bagong batas kung sakaling ma-ratify?
Actually, for the sake of ano lang, Madam Chair, no? Kasi so far okay lang naman kami dito. I'm the Vice President pala sa Filipino Association. On behalf of the Filipino Association, I'm representing to this hearing. And ang masasabi ko lang tungkol doon sa kung anong mabibenefit natin sa about this sa tax. Kasi usually, Madam Chair, yung business ano dito sa Brunei is kailangan mo ng partnership ng local owner. So, parang ang nagbabayad lang ng tax is only the company. Hindi talaga directly nagbabayad yung Filipino owner. So, and then
So ang
about
sinasabi ninyo, yung karamihan sa inyo, hindi gagamit nito kasi yung tax binabayaran ng kumpanya, hindi ng mga trabahador.
yes
Ganun
po,
ba
ma'am.
yun?
Yes po, Madam
Ano
Chair.
yung income tax ninyo? Di ba nagbabayad kayo ng income tax?
Wala po. Hindi kami nagbabayad ng tax.
Wala namang income tax sa Brunei.
Oo, wala.
Ganun ba yun?
Po.
Pero sa Pilipinas,
Sa Pilipinas, hindi ko lang alam kasi mayroong mga, actually, kaya nga po parang walang registered na, parang yung sinabi ni Senator Gatchalian kanina, yung ang company ng Pilipinas, kung mayroon dito sa Brunei, ewan ko lang kung anong binabayaran ng ano, kasi hindi, kailangan kasi dito, pag nag-establish ka ng company, kailangan may local partner eh.
tama. So yung local partner ang sumasagot ng buwis. Ganun ba
Yes
yun?
po. Po.
Okay. Thank you. So, thank you. So, hindi mo magagamit itong bagong batas kung sakali, yung partner mo na lang. Parang ganon.
Yes po, yes.
I see. Okay. Pero I suppose, ultimately, it will redound to your benefit also kasi kahit papano, bawas gastos din yon sa kumpanya. Sana.
Yes po.
Sige, thank you very much, Mr. Baluarte po. At kumusta na lang sa mga
Okay.
Pilipino dyan.
Okay. Thank you po, ma'am. Thank you din.
Thank you. So, we have heard from all the sectors here represented, and we will simply await the submissions requested by myself and Senator Gatchalian, and this will proceed to a technical working group or immediately to ratification upon submission of the required documents. Is that correct? Tama ba yun? Diba? So nga, wala nang technical working group kasi treaty. Oo, pro forma na to. Pero you were saying kasi, Mr. Olivan, kanina, that you are placing under review all the old DTAs and other agreements. Then I was asking about the Article 23, 1A and B regarding tax payable versus tax paid. Sabi mo kanina na rini-review rin ninyo. Tama ba yun?
Ma'am, we're currently revisiting po the PH treaty model. So, ina-update na po namin po siya.
Yeah, that being the case, perhaps you can also tell us if you're going to improve the language on some of these treaties, given that there appears to be room for confusion. Okay? Sige. Maraming salamat. So, yun lang po. Paki-submit na lang sa lalong madaling panahon na ma-ratify ng Senado itong batas na ito. Maraming salamat. Thank you.
Thank you.